The views and opinions expressed in these historical letters that may contain vernacular used in the World War II era, the post-war era, and the Cold War era do not reflect the views and opinions of any of the individuals involved with this project, including, but not limited to, the podcast's creators. Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning, Allison.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm drinking my coffee.
Same
So
here.
that's how I'm doing.
I feel very pink this morning, actually. My coffee matches everything else.
You're very, very, like you have the pink going on. It's springtime. It's
is.
that time of year where it's beautiful. I'm more of a fall kind of dress right now.
I know fall is your favorite season.
And this is, yes.
There's this like wishing for the fall to come sooner.
I try not to wish away the wonderfulness of spring and summer because they are beautiful, beautiful times of year. But fall is above all. That's all I got to say.
That's great. Yeah. Well, but Sweetie isn't in spring or in summer or in fall. She is in winter. As we start episode 59 here, one more episode, Jamie, to episode 60. As we start episode 59 with the beginning of 1948, as promised, in January. So it's nice and cold for Sweetie, Lou, and Lewis in southeastern Pennsylvania, still in Norwood. And we're going to start with a full recap from Sweetie here of Christmas in 1947. So if people were hoping that she was going to give that recap in this episode, keep listening. Here comes the big recap of Christmas 1947. But before we go into that, just a couple quick notes as usual. If you could please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, we appreciate that. If you're listening on our audio channels, please leave a review if you have the time, if you're able to do so, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on any of the other channels where there's review options to be left. And then if you could also check out our website, we appreciate that. I've been seeing, Jamie, some more traffic on the website, so I can see more people going to that. That's www.lovesweetiepodcast.com. Check out the photo galleries, the timeline, and all the other great pieces of information there, especially if you're a new listener and you just want to fill in on who some of these individuals are. I know in the last episode, we went through who some of Sweetie's nieces and nephews were. In this episode, we're going over Christmas, so obviously family gatherings will be a thing. So if you hear some names, you're not familiar with who they are, check out the website. You can just go into the family trees and work it out from there. But Jamie, are we ready to hear how Christmas 1947 went?
Oh, yes.
All right, so here we go. 37 South Love Lane, Norwood, Pennsylvania, January 7th, 1948. Dear Mama, Daddy, Jean, Florence, Frank and Maida, and sister and family. It is already well after 10 p.m., but my conscience refuses to be salved, and so I shall at least start this letter, and if necessary, I'll finish it tomorrow. Lou has the duty, and Lewis is asleep, and in the quietness, this typewriter sounds something like Scrooge's chains. I guess I might as well start with Christmas, since I wrote you shortly before, and you'll be pretty well brought up to date. I wrote you that Elizabeth was expecting to get her diamond ring. She did, and is very happy with it now, though she had hoped for a bigger diamond. It is a very plain ring, but the stone is especially pretty, and she is delighted with the prospects of getting married and having a home of her own. She is saying, well, I won't do this, or I will do this. She and Bob trimmed the tree at her house on Christmas Eve, while Lou and I went in to meet Marguerite and Joe, who had arrived from New York. We didn't leave their house until after 10, and we had to stop and buy our tree on the way home. It was a very pretty tree, and we stayed up until 4 getting it trimmed, and the gifts set out for early morning opening. Lewis didn't wake up until after 8, for which I was thankful, and by then Lou's mother, Elizabeth, Marguerite, and Joe had come down to watch. We took him to the bathroom, and then standing him on the floor, we said, "Now you wait right there and then." Lou and I ran out to the living room in order to be able to see his face when he came out. He had just gotten out of bed and was hardly awake, so it was almost too much for him to take in all at once. We had talked Santa Claus a lot, but somehow he connected trains with Santa Claus all by himself, and I felt a little sorry that we could not buy trains for him. But Marguerite and Joe got him a real nice wind-up train with tracks and all, and when he did spy it, he said as confidently as could be, "There to train!" Just like, "I told you so." He went from one thing to another, and like last year, he didn't know just what to do first. We decided we wouldn't go into it as heavily as we had last year, and still he got plenty of toys. We got him a peg table, 4 books, a drum, a little wind-up racetrack, a pony toy, and a little fuzzy dog with a rubber bulb to make him walk, and I made him a pair of wool pants, and we bought a bathrobe. Lou's mother bought him a little accordion, Elizabeth got him a pair of slippers, and a wind-up Lincoln Tunnel toy. Joe and Marguerite got him the wind-up train and a little moving dolly, like they used to carry Pepsi crates in a grocery store. The people on the left of us got him a couple trucks and trailers made of plastic. Dottie got him a rubber Mickey Mouse fire truck, and the Moore kids gave him a wind-up jumping Jeep. Florence sent some of those nice pajamas that I admired on her kids, and for which I'm very thankful. Susie and F sent a flip-flop pegboard that is called his Bang Bang, and the Bolton children sent a nice Bible story book. You see, he was very well supplied, and now comes my problem of where am I ever going to put them all? Mama and Daddy? Well, wait, I guess I'd better finish with the above. As our dishes had been broken one by one, and I had too few to even set the table, both Marguerite and Elizabeth and Mom got us dishes. Marguerite got a nice hand-painted breakfast set, service for 4, and we kept them since she would have had to lug them all the way back to New York. Elizabeth got a set of 4 too, and I'm thinking about putting some money with them and getting service for 8 instead, since that way I'd get a sugar bowl and cream pitchers, soup bowls, a platter, vegetable dishes, and I have none of these things, and I don't believe it would cost a great deal more than what she has paid. I did go to Sears Roebuck and bought Lou the drill press. He was really flabbergasted, and so I was very pleased. However, since Christmas he has spent nearly every night in the cellar, and I might as well be a widow for all I see him. He talks about it a lot, and several of the fellows at the base have said they would like to come and see it, and use it too. Well, if Lou was flabbergasted, I was speechless to find a cedar chest. It is beautiful, and with an insurance policy, how could I ask for more? I protested that we could not afford such luxurious things as a cedar chest until Lou went in and got his good wool robe with a moth hole in it and argued that we could not afford to be without, and so I am very happy with it. Elizabeth belongs to a bowling league and won the Christmas turkey with the highest bowling score, so they invited Bob to Christmas dinner. Then at night Bob's mother and father came over to meet the clan. Until then, they didn't know that Elizabeth had gotten the ring, and it was a welcome of both families. Louis was an angel, and they sent word back that they especially like Lou's wife and baby, and I was very pleased, since it is Marguerite who always seems to rate first. They are very nice people, and I feel Elizabeth is doing right well for herself. Lou had duty New Year's Eve, and I was to babysit. Rather than take Louis with me and try to get him to sleep at their house, I asked them to bring the kids here. I put Louis to bed a little early and then kept the kids quiet. They went to bed in our bed, and I slept on the couch until their mothers came and got them at 3 in the morning. I got $2.50 for it. They don't pay any too well, but every little bit counts, I say. We haven't gone anywhere except into the Mummers Parade New Year's Day. I knew that Lou's mother had been invited to go to the Browns for New Year's dinner, and so thought we would take Louis with us to the Mummers Parade. I got out some old holey underwear that belonged to Lou's father or uncle, and made Louis some long-handled undies to wear. I put some new 3/4-length socks on, and then a pair of anklets on over those, put his shoes on, a shirt, 2 sweaters, wool pants, his snowsuit, and over his shoes some wool socks of Lou's, and then his galoshes, like we used to dress to go bobsled riding in White, South Dakota. 2 pair of mittens, and we were off. But by the time I got to Lou's mother's to meet Lou, it had begun to drizzle, and we decided we couldn't risk taking him. Lou and I went, but couldn't stay long on account of the bad weather, so we came on home, and Lou's mother went on to the dinner.
Wow. Well, first Lewis made out at Christmas time.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, he got so much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And this is funny. I think I've mentioned before that one of my favorite movies is A Christmas Story.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's roughly around this time.
Mm-hmm.
And they decorated their Christmas tree on Christmas Eve.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they went and got their Christmas tree and decorated. And I believe it was Christmas Eve, too.
Yeah.
They went and got their tree at 10 o'clock on Christmas Eve.
Now,
that's so bizarre.
But in the last Christmas in 46, they did it so they could get a deal on the tree for $1 because they knew that the tree salesman would be stuck with their products and they had to reduce the prices. And this is, of course, before the country left the gold standard. So I don't think inflation's too bad between 46 and 47. That tree was probably $1. So.
And it was a nice tree.
It was
nice. They were up until 4 o'clock in the morning. And I have to remind myself, too, that she's like 25.
Mm-hmm.
And Lou's not that much older than her.
Yeah, just a few years, yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, yeah, when I was 25, yeah.
They could do it.
Like, nowadays, like, no.
Nah, forget that. For me, Thanksgiving, good. We're good to go. Put the tree up.
Oh, and let's talk about the fact that Elizabeth is in a bowling league. Mm-hmm. And not only that, but she is incredible at it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like it's a fun dit. That seems like a dit thing. That's a dit thing.
Her social circles, you know, she's got the bowling league. She was talking about showing off the ring to friends and things like that. She just has a different style of life than Sweetie's used to. But it adds this other point to her character. Just like we get all these little pieces of information. We slowly put together the whole picture of the individual. And the Browns seem like a very nice family that she's marrying into.
And it was so nice they could all meet together and that they really liked Sweetie.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I bet that made her feel... And Lewis. I bet that made her feel so good.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, she's not there's no inferiority complex yet anywhere in this letter. And that's always nice to see. There was one gift that made me think, and I hadn't thought about it when I first transcribed this letter. I didn't think about it until I was getting this one ready for today's episode. The gift from Sydney was the accordion. And that took me back because I hadn't been thinking about it as much when I was transcribing it. And now I'm like, oh, she got him an accordion. It's because her son Sammy played the accordion, the one that was gone. And when it just blew me away. Like, the things that come from a rereading of things that we don't see the first time around. And all of a sudden I was like, he's now the youngest and he's the only grandchild. And what's she doing? She's trying to probably find some closure or some healing by giving this little instrument over to the grandchild, which the last time that she would have had any associations with this musical instrument was the death of her other son, Sammy, who tragically died at like age 19 in 1935 in the train accident. So yeah, that was the thing. I wouldn't have picked up on this had my dad not told me the story, because this isn't documented anywhere in the letters. That's what she always wanted to hear, that he would play Home on the Range on the accordion, and that's the oral history of the family. So had he not said that, all of a sudden when I was going through this, I was just like, oh, and that just hit me really hard. There was something very magical about her handing and her gift being an accordion to little Lewis. He did, to my knowledge, in early life, he did not learn to play the accordion. He's not an accordion player today. I actually have a close friend whose son is a superior accordion player, so maybe we can get him to record something for the show.
Yes, that would be so lovely. I would love I love the accordion. I think it's just such the vaudeville kind of sound, It has that and it's such a peppy, happy instrument.
It is. Yeah.
But for you to bring that up, I mean,
it just
to like bring those connections. Grief is such an incredibly complex emotion, and so like I'm hoping that in that moment there was some kind of closure for her, because Sammy was the junior,
right? Sammy Jr.
and Lewis is the junior.
He's the junior of Lou, So. Yeah, it's just kind of full circle in that little moment, and she notes this. So. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, read between the lines in like the most positive of ways. And it's just I hadn't picked up onto until I was getting stuff ready for this episode. So anyway,
that's lovely. I love that.
The drill.
Like, so there definitely wasn't a gift of the Magi thing that you had mentioned in the last. So he didn't sell something to get her something that he couldn't use anymore.
Right.
But she, boom, nail on the head.
Mm-hmm.
Like, definitely got him probably the best gift, and he's so happy with it. Ugh.
He just locked himself in the cellar, and now he's gonna invite all his bros out from the base to be like, yo, let's go hang out with the This is such like a guy thing, right? In my mind, like, yo, we should come over and see the tools I got for Christmas. Okay, cool. Like, that's what that's gonna be.
Like, hey, my wife got me a drill. What did your wife get you? Socks.
Yeah. But then what he gets for her, the cedar chest. Mm-hmm. And the cedar chest is in the attic. It's an item I have to bring down. It shouldn't stay up there. It's in perfect condition. Mm-hmm. I'd read this letter and then came across that. I'm like, that has to be the one that she got, because I haven't come across it since. And it was holding some antiques. And it has.
I wonder if the insurance policy is still good.
Hey, maybe. Yeah. Genuine cedar chest. And she's just blown away by that gift. So yeah, they're both thinking about each other and hiding what they're actually going to get, to the last moment. So anyway, great little moments. But continuing on with the story, we have another part to this letter, the second half here.
Mama and Daddy, the bathrobe was the gift we bought in your name with the money you sent for Louis. That is something I've been wanting for these chilly mornings, and I thank you for it. I bought one that I thought would be plenty big enough, and then didn't think I'd get 2 years' wear out of it, and went and took it back for a bigger one. With the sleeves turned up and the belt worn above the keepers, he'll get 2 or maybe 3 years' wear out of this one. As I wrote to you, I haven't given up the idea of your Christmas gift, but I guess it will take me some time before I get around to getting it. It isn't very expensive, so don't fret yourselves. I just hope it won't be too long. Oh, I forgot to mention, the welfare department at the base gave a Christmas party for the children, and we took Louis up replete in his sailor suit, which, if I do say so myself, has stolen a good many shows. Well, we took over this one, too. The publicity officer was there taking propaganda shots to stimulate recruiting. Louis saw the camera, and by showing interest in the camera and its attachments, caught all the interest for himself, and first thing we knew, he was their center for each picture they took. The welfare officer promised us some if they were good, but so far we haven't heard anything, and I think I'll ask Lou to wander up to the office and refresh his memory. He sure looked cute, and took over the joint for himself, and wrangled 2 helpings of ice cream for himself. Ah, yes, that's my boy. We seem to be fairly free of that devil cold, and I hold my breath. I had a card from Dorotha and Aunt Nellie that I would answer with this letter, except that this portable takes only 4 carbons, so I'll try to do it soon. Oh, yes, Mama, I believe I told you that Betty Corey and her husband living in Long Branch, New Jersey, were expecting a baby due February 11th. Well, today I got an announcement that their baby boy, R, was born. I had dropped her a note this afternoon, and now I can hardly wait to hear from her. Her husband had addressed the announcement, and I'm afraid that might mean she isn't well. Jean, before I go any farther, I must thank you for the Afghan. It is beautiful, and the envy of the few neighbor friends I have here. Marguerite said she'd love to carry it home with her, and just the other night I heard Elizabeth say she'd have to get hers out and try to get at it again. It is blocks much like those hats you made, with a great deal of black in it, and I don't believe it could ever be as pretty as this is. I surely do appreciate it, and I feel like Mrs. Astor's favorite niece every time I use it. I'm anxious for the Parents' Magazine to start coming. Will it start this month? You also wrote in the cards that you were sending stamps and money for the boys. It wasn't in the big Christmas package. We haven't heard from you since, and I'm quite worried about it. I went through every piece of packing in the box thinking I might have missed something, but I didn't. The box was in good condition when it arrived, and I think it'd be perfectly safe in saying they couldn't have lost out. I thought you were sending them separately, did you? But they haven't arrived, and I've worried about it long enough. I hope you'll write and tell me so that I can start doing something about it. I wrote that I was sorry to send such a meager gift to you after your sending the hand-made Afghan. And since you haven't written, I've been thinking you might have felt slighted, and I'd hate that. We owe you a great deal already, but the worst thing of all would be for you to feel badly, and I hope you don't. You haven't written for a long time. I keep telling myself it is because I owe you, but I'm not doing too good a job of convincing myself. Let us hear from you, will you? Yeah, and I wanted to pause here real quick, just because we don't really know what's going on with Jean, and there's a lot of emotions going on with Jean, going back to like episode 56 with the letters about Clifford and everything else. But one thing here, and just to comment on, is the knitting. That Jean's really able to knit, where Sweetie's really able to sew. And she's able to do it so well. It's inspiring some jealousy and incentivizing others to follow suit. So this gets commented on a lot, but I mean, the skills back then of women to just make things, you know, and not go out and buy them was immense. And Jean somehow, despite all of her work, found time to knit this beautiful Afghan. Sister, I notice you carefully didn't say how the things fit. Are they going to need alterations? Tell Chris to let the girls have the laundry bag for their room, and just as soon as I find a suitable design for a boy's laundry bag, he shall have one for himself to do with as he pleases. We do thank you for the Bible story book. Lewis's library is fast growing, and nothing pleases him more than books, but that presents a problem too, for I never can convince him, when I'm in the midst of the dishes, that he must wait just a few minutes until I'm through. He is quite insistent, and we often have to argue before we get things settled. Florence, your appreciation does my heart good, and I shall look forward to the picture and hope it does come in good time. I'm so pleased the skirt and blouse fit so well, and I'm pleased that K.M. liked it. I'll look forward to seeing a picture of it. R got shorted because I got rushed at the end, and besides, my guess as to size was so far off that I couldn't send the garment, and so I shall try to get at something for him soon. I'm very happy to have the pajamas. If I could have gotten the top part on under his snowsuit, he would have worn that to the parade he didn't get to see too. Thank you for them. Frank and Maida, likewise with your children and the sewing. I had difficulty deciding on sizes, and I'd appreciate your writing and telling me what size patterns you do buy for them, Maida, and then I'll send their belated gifts. I was much chagrined to think I'd work myself into such an 8-hole, but I did, and maybe you can help me to get out? Thank you for the bang-bang. Lewis plays with it constantly, and I was amused to watch him pound away with his left hand. He keeps close track of the pegs, and I find I have to watch that he doesn't hammer things that weren't meant to be hammered with the mallet. I've been waiting to hear about the film, and that is putting me in somewhat of an embarrassing situation. This boy and his uncle and his father bought the projector together, as you and your brother-in-law did. I told them at my birthday to borrow the projector, and they did. The uncle has been asking for it back, and Bill keeps telling him that he'd like to keep it a little longer, and I keep saying the films will come soon, soon, soon. Well, he was down here last night, and we told him they would surely be here soon, so I guess the uncle is again pressing him for use of the projector. Shall I tell him to go ahead and let it go at that? Well, it is 11:45, and the house is getting chilly. I must go see about the fire, and I'm quite sleepy too, so I think I'll let this do for now. Again, thank you for the nice Christmas gifts, and do write soon. Jean, do you hear? Let us have a letter from you, please. Love to all. Sweetie, Lou, and Lewis.
So she started that letter after 10. And she said it was 11:45, and so she was writing.
Yeah, for like 2 hours.
Can you imagine the quiet of the house and the clicky clack, click, 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 click?
Scrooge's chains.
Oh gosh, I can imagine.
She mentions it, she describes it. That vision was so perfect for Christmas. It wasn't Scrooge who had the chains, it was the other ghost that did, right? It was the Marley is the name Marley, his old acquaintance.
Marley's the name of the you know what I'm most familiar with is the Disney Mickey Mouse version with Scrooge McDuck, and I think I don't remember what the name is of the guy that I think it was his old partner.
It's his old partner. Yeah, they're the one wearing the chains, so it's not really Scrooge's chain, but we all know where she's going with it. It's beside the point. Yeah. The clicking clack of the typewriter sounds like the chains from A Christmas Carol.
This is kind of too one of those times that we get like a little bit of an insight into like what it's like for her, like what she's doing. So it's late at night. She's put Lewis to bed. Lou's not there. And this January 7th, I don't know about y'all, but like the time after Christmas and after New Year's, it just drags on.
Yeah.
And in that time period, it's January, it's cold, there's no night sounds, it's quiet. And here she is sitting in this kitchen with all these letters out. It's dark, quiet, and all you hear is the click clack of the typewriter.
Yeah. The scene.
And now she's going to go see about the fire, warm up the house, and go to bed.
Yeah. If I could have a painting of her just like sitting in the kitchen at the typewriter in the midst of winter, you know, there's a song in the bleak midwinter, The Holst, right? And it's just, you get this sort of air of it. But yeah, it's an interesting recap of Christmas. It's a bit more subdued than the recap that she had from the previous year, but we at least still get to hear of everything that happened. And she's concerned Jean isn't writing. So
that's the major thing I think that's really kind of taken over the letters. Like she knows that Jean's not writing and there's things going on and she wants to know what they are. And there was a little bit of the inferiority complex because she's like, oh, you don't like it or you're slighted or you're mad at me.
What did I do?
And I'm sure she didn't do anything. I'm sure she didn't do anything. But this was also her second Christmas out east, right?
Yeah.
So like there will definitely be a difference between the first one and the second one where she feels more comfortable now. She's like, and Elizabeth's getting married and that, you know, like there's all a bunch of family stuff going on. So yeah, there's definitely a change in tone, and I think for the better.
Yeah. And then we do have one more letter for this episode. Now, this one's broken up into 3 parts here as we go a little further into January. It's a couple weeks later. Here we come in at January 21st.
37 South Love Lane, Norwood, Pennsylvania, January 21st, 1948. Dear Mama, Daddy, Jean, Florence, sister and her family, and Frank and Maida and Susie and F. Lou has just now left to go to the base, and Louis is sleeping soundly, so I'll take the opportunity of catching up on my visit with all of you. Lou was half sick with a cold, and I'd not be too surprised if he'd turn into sick bay for treatment. He firmly believes he should take it easy during a course of sulfa, and hates to take it and then have to work hard getting an airplane off the check sheet. And I can't help but feel that as easily as Louis takes cold, even he and I are better off if Lou does get put to bed up there. Well, we'll see. I finally did make a list of a few things that I especially wanted to remember to write about, and so I think I'll get those things off my list first. I think under separate envelope I'll send a letter from Mrs. Corey that tells all about Betty's trouble as well as their own, a letter from Aunt Mary that I was quite surprised to get, and even more surprised when I read it. Daddy asked me if I ever wrote to Helen Frances. Well, no, I haven't really written since we were kids, but that is as much her fault as mine. Nobody told me that she and Jack had separated and finally had divorced, and now Aunt Mary writes that she got married again on New Year's Day. Did anybody else know it? And if so, why didn't I get in on the news? I'm also sending a letter from Florence that enclosed a picture of KM and R that I believe is the best yet. I can't help but think that she sent one to Mama, and on the strength of that, I'll not send mine along until I hear from you. If she didn't have one to send to you, let me know, and you can pass mine around and then return it. I meant to tell you the last time I wrote about taking Louis to the movies with us. Lou had wanted to see The Secret Life of Walter Mitty for a long time, and when it came to the theater right up on the pike, we decided we'd go. I dressed Louis in the nice warm pajamas that Florence sent for Christmas, carried his bottle and a cough syrup bottle as a spare, and a package of gum, and off we went. It was Technicolor, and Louis was enthralled with the colors and the moving people. He stood right in front of me, since there was a vacant seat, and hardly took his eyes off the screen. He did not fidget or fuss. My only trouble was his shrill commentary. See man, see dog, dog say bow wow. He enjoyed the music and only went to sleep the last half hour or so.
I bundled him up, put his coat and hat on, lugged him out to the car, and got home, dumped him in bed, and he never even woke up. I'm firmly convinced that is the most unusual thing of the whole outing. Speaking of movies, Frank, Maida, am I on your list? I thought you'd write and tell me something about them. Have you decided not to send them at all? The meat, Mama and Daddy. I hoarded that roast until I was ashamed to leave it in the girls' icebox any longer, and so we asked Elizabeth and Lou's mother down for Sunday dinner. It was the best roast I ever cooked, and we could have given Tom's a lesson in cramming the food down. There was enough left over the next day to fix a beef stew, and that was the best stew I ever ate. Every one of us thanked you for it. We got 2 big meals out of the steak and 2 meals from the hamburger, 8 meals, and we do appreciate it. And now a letter from you yesterday said you were sending more. Well, I don't mind telling you that we don't buy any here except a little canned stuff like Spam and hash, because we can't afford it.
Ooh, She just jumped right in there.
Yep.
So, we do start off some of the letters with, Lou being sick and Louis being sick sometimes. And so the fact that Lou is not doing well, has a little bit of a cold, is not a surprise.
No shocker there.
Yeah, but he's going to I'm hoping he does go to sick bay, and she's kind of like, me too.
Yeah, stay in sick bay. Don't bring him at home. So whatever you got there.
The little one is so susceptible to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then here we have, this is something that was indicative of the time period when they would have letters and correspondence, they would send it between each other.
The circular.
So, yeah, circular. So you can see, and she's talking about doing that. And that's always been really kind of fascinating to me. Can you maybe talk a little bit more about Helen Frances, and is this part of her family as well?
Yeah. So a little while back in one of the episodes, we were talking about Chester's brother, Cyril. So Helen Frances is Cyril's daughter. And so Helen Frances is Sweetie's cousin. And they're about in the same age range. I think Helen Frances was a little younger than Sweetie by a few years. But basically, they've always remained in touch. So something's happened here where Helen Frances had been married, had a divorce from this guy named Jack, which I don't really know too much about that relationship there, but then gets married again on New Year's Day. And of all the cousins, we hear about Helen Frances more than the others, at least so far in the letters. That's the cousin that's been mentioned the most. But then that makes sense because of all the brothers that Chester had, and he had other siblings, we hear about Uncle Cyril the most. We also know that during the Depression, it's clear when Sweetie was about 13 years old, she stayed a summer with Cyril and his family. So there's a bit of a relationship there. So that's who Helen Frances is. So there's a little bit of gossip, but she's a little sad that she didn't get in on that gossip a little sooner. Some withheld information going on there with some of the Demaree side.
Well, I think Helen Frances probably didn't tell anybody because it seems like this was a big shock. Well, especially for Sweetie. But they kind of, but we see them like tossing these letters around, or putting these letters around, and she finally got her picture of Bob's children. So that was nice.
She's been demanding that.
And then we find out about Louis going to the movies.
Ooh, yeah.
That was fun.
It's tough to take little kids to the movies.
But he was a champ. He was awesome. They don't have a TV at this time, correct?
No.
And this is the first time he's ever probably seen anything on a screen.
Yeah, they tried to take him the one time, but I don't think he was like a year, barely able to like recognize. Now he's recognizing things. Oh my gosh. And later on in this season, we're going to get to hear about a big one that he's going to go to. So this isn't the only time this season that we're going to hear about Louis going to the movies. But yeah, I mean, him just sort of talking at the screen and then being so overwhelmed and wiped out, he just doesn't wake up the whole night.
Well, now she knows how to keep him asleep all night.
Yeah.
Just go take him to the movies.
Get him wired, take him to the movies, and he will pass out pretty well at night, and you'll be able to have time to stay up and write your letters uninterrupted. So, yeah. And then we get the part about the meat that they're sending. Now, this is right from the source. I mean, the Demarees are sending meat from Iowa. So agriculture territory, it's got to be pretty good. And she's very, very grateful because what they're having is canned meat. Now, I like Spam. I'm just going to say that.
It's okay.
I don't think it likes me too much, honestly, because it's high in sodium and things like that. But I will say one of the earliest memories that I have from my grandmother is when we'd come over to her house for lunch and things. And wouldn't you know, she would fry up some spam in the pan. Like, so this carries through. It's just like a family memory. It's forever associated. My mom, no. My mother's mother, no. Sweetie, yep. Fry up the spam in the pan. Mac and cheese with some peas and stewed tomatoes, and that was like a full meal, full on, and it was great. So that's kind of coming out of that generation. But yeah.
Well, have you ever gotten meat in the mail?
No, I can't say I have. Now, I know there's like mail order things, like Omaha Steaks will send things out. I've gotten
personally, we order from Purdue sometimes.
Okay.
And they'll send it in a big box with like dry ice and stuff. So I wonder what the procedure was to make sure that, I mean, obviously the meat was probably frozen solid and packed in some kind of like packaging and then sent.
Yeah.
But I wonder how that worked. But they were able to it's kind of like when you go order, like you said, from Omaha Steaks or something.
Yeah.
So, but I'm glad that they were able to get this meat. And, it's actually, I mean, the protein is so important. And it's important nutritionally. So the fact that they weren't able, when she was telling me they weren't able to get meat and stuff, my mother instincts was like, "Ooh, but you're not getting enough protein, though."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think in an earlier letter, they have hamburger only like once a week. I think she brought this up. It's been a struggle for that. Now there's substitutes that can be used there, and she's probably using some of that. But that might be also really affecting their health, right? They're constantly sick. You're not getting enough of the protein. But they got the meat. Chester and Laura sent that to them. What a wonderful gift! And she was complaining about the meat, and so they're like, well, we know what to do about that. Aww. Yep.
So lovely.
And then heading into the next part of our letter here.
Our 6-inch snow all melted, and we had another 4 or 5 inches last weekend that is largely gone now. But with news of another cold front moving in, I guess we'll just have to get busy again. The coldest it has been so far here was 10 degrees above zero, though in some parts of the state it has been really cold, even 40 below, though I suspect that is mountainous. I hope it isn't too windy today, for I must walk up to pay the rent, and by the time I get that far, I'll want to go on up to the pike and mail these letters, which by the way must serve us a congratulation or anniversary card from the folks. It doesn't seem like such a long way to go to a store until you start to walk it in the cold, and then I just don't have nerve enough to drag Lewis all the way up that hill. I wish I had some good pictures to send you of Lewis, but even so, no picture here quite tells the true story. Half of Lewis is his actions and his talk. He doesn't care very much about being shut into his room to take a nap, so when he gets tired, he starts his little chant. Babu, lay alone saucies, rough translation. I want my bottle, and lay down on the sofa. He loves his books, prefers the old familiar ones to new ones, and daily he comes, Hen, Mama, hen, don'ty book, zin book, ze own saucies read. Hand, Mama, hand, and he takes me by the hand and drags me into his room for donkey book, sing book, sit down sofa and read. He nearly knows the books by heart and often chimes in with me, and when we sing, he sings too. I tried to cross him up on The Farmer in the Dell by saying, the cat takes the rat, and then the next day the cat takes the mouse, and he scolded me for it, saying, not rat, mouse. He loves tools, and for Christmas we bought him a little rubber toolkit consisting of saw, hatchet, hammer, open, and wrench, pliers, and a screwdriver, that he calls goo-gee. He was perfectly satisfied until he tried to use the goo-gee on a toy car, and when it bent too easily, I saw him examine it closely, bend it between his fingers. He got up, with a look of complete disgust on his face, stomped to the cellar door, muttering under his breath. He opened the door, let fly with the screwdriver, looked up at me and said, no good, shrugged his shoulders, and went back to work with the hammer. I retrieved it and put it back with the rest of the things, but he ignores it as though it no longer was there. Last summer he absorbed all of the process Lou went through in getting the car fixed, his exchange of tools, his crawling out from under the car and then back under again, his muffled cuss words, pounding, etc., and then went and got his big coaster wagon that once was Lou's
pulled it right up alongside the toolbox, laid down on his back under it, and did just as Lou had done. He'd crawl out, select a wrench, crawl back under, work a while, poke his head out to mutter something, quite like a cuss word, and back to work for a little while. I could hardly keep from laughing, and Lou and I watched for a long time. Pretty soon a car drove up at the neighbors, and they saw him and were so interested in his antics that they didn't get out of the car, but sat and watched until the neighbors came out to see what they were waiting on. Okay, I'm sorry. I need to stop here because this scene, before we continue with more of Lewis's antics as she's going into in this letter, mimicking his dad, working on the car with his little toy wagon and his tools to the point where he's rolling out and from underneath of this thing as if he's a mechanic and cussing in his own way to the point where it's distracting the neighbors and they just can't, they're not even going in to see their friends, where everyone's like, no. This is one of my favorite scenes of 2-year-old Lewis.
This makes me so, oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Lewis is the main character.
Yeah, he's taking over, right, the story here.
That is the most adorable thing ever, though.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He's like, the whole thing with him and the screwdriver and him being like,
no good.
He's like, this is a piece of crap.
Oh my gosh.
It's adorable.
It's so
It's
great.
adorable. And I cracked up, and I've got hilarious, adorable all written through this.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how they learn.
Yep.
This is how they learn.
Yep. Mm-hmm. You said, and I think it was a few episodes ago, that they're like a sponge. He has sponged up his dad right here. And he is playing big. There's the big sailor and there's the little sailor. There's the big mechanic and there's the little mechanic. And he's playing a little mechanic here and he is fixing something. He's fixing something. No wonder she can't write a letter during the day. She's watching this. It's distracting the neighbors. What are you doing? How many hours do kids spend doing this? I just remember we used to spend, as my sister and I, we used to spend hours on things that I can't imagine spending hours on now. He was probably out there doing this for like a while. So.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and they loved it too.
Yeah.
They just loved it.
So great. Hashtag adorable. All right. And continuing on with more Lewis taking over the story here. A neighbor brought her badly spoiled, selfish little 3.5-year-old girl over. She took everything away from Lewis. Rather, I asked him to give in to her, which he did very willingly, since I am even surprised at his lack of selfishness. And by the way of pacifying him, I said, "Give the little girl the ball, and you go find the green car for Mama." She, the Mama, said, "Does he know his colors?" He does, nearly all of them, aside from purple or some such uncommon one. He does talk a lot, but from the dialect I've already written you, you can see that I'm the only one who understands what he says. He does love Lou so much, will do anything if Daddy does it. It darn near makes me half sore sometimes. He came to me to get a rink a waddy Daddy gas drink of water in Daddy's glass. Well, we went through all the glasses. He'd say no to each one until he was sure he had Daddy's glass before he'd take a drink. He wakes up every morning, calls me and says, "Where, Daddy?" And before I can answer, he has said, "Daddy, we're at work." He stands at the window each night and watches for the car lights to turn into the yard. If anything goes wrong, he comes to me and says, oh, about a broken toy, shrugs his shoulders, and says, "Daddy fits it. Daddy fix it." What would I do without him? I'm sure I don't know, for he's so much company and fun. I'd be lost without him. And he is just an awful nice kid. He doesn't mind giving up to a crybaby, and if I make him to go get something for me, he trots off saying, "Okay, Mama." He doesn't bawl and yell when we go out somewhere, and doesn't cry for toys in a store, the way I've seen kids do. He is just as sweet as can be. The other night the fire siren blew in the night. He hates a fire siren the way Susie hates a chicken crowing in the night. He screamed, and when I went in to him and picked him up to comfort him, he threw his arms around my neck and put his head on my shoulder while I tried to tell him that the siren was calling, "Hello!" He sat real still until it stopped, and here they blow the thing until the volunteer firefighters get up and dressed, and to the firehouse, and the engine started, and then we talked about the fire whistle going to bed. He quieted down, I rocked him a little bit, and when he was drowsing off a little, he looked up and said, "I you, Mama. I love you, Mama."
That is the sweetest thing ever.
I thought this was supposed to be the terrible twos. It's everything but.
I'm honestly just happy that he's not sick.
Right? And the relief. Yeah, we're not hearing this long story of him, having to go to the hospital and her breaking out the sulfa bottle, 50 times. It's such a scene. It really is.
Yeah, it's nice. He's growing up. And she's obviously a wonderful mother because he's, so, he's doesn't cry. He does what she asks him to do.
Yep.
I mean, and she takes him along with her throughout the house to do things, It takes a little bit longer, and she definitely is very appreciative of him because you see how she says, he's so much company and fun. I'd be lost without him.
He's the only one there because Lou's at the base all day. All her family's in Iowa. She doesn't have a car. She's the fish out of water that's living in southeastern PA as the practical Midwesterner. Her sole connection to family most of the day that she's awake is her son. And she has this just unbreakable bond. And they shared that all their life. They did.
You okay? You okay?
Yeah, it's an emotional moment. But, I know my dad, when he's listening to this episode, he knows. He knows. The mother-son bond. Unbreakable to the end. So, yeah.
Just take a moment.
Yeah, I'm going to take a moment. But
yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah.
These are good things. Grief is a complex emotion.
Yeah.
It doesn't go away. And you just fold it in.
Yeah.
And this was so awesome. Wasn't it?
I think it's the first time he says, "I love you, Mama," in his own way, and the language only she understands. Which I will say, reading that one line of Lewis's dialogue was really tricky. So, because I'm like, these are not words. So, thank God for the translation. So
she's very good at conveying, and so she was really trying to stay authentic to what he was saying, which is so cute. She's like, she really wanted to say, this is what it kind of sounds like, and this is what he's saying. I know.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot there.
There we go.
Okay. Yeah. One more part to this letter. Thank you, everyone. But yeah, as you're right, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to see. These are happy tears. These are happy tears.
Oh, absolutely they are. Yeah. Yes. I know.
Florence, I certainly have enjoyed your letters, and I was so pleased to get the picture of the children. I've taken it, and the one of the 3 Boltons, and the Christmas card of Susie and F, put them in my pocketbook, and I've showed it to everyone I know, and some people I don't. I'm sure glad you sent it, though I can't help but wish you'd been in it too. I'm so pleased you like the skirt and blouse. That is an inspiration to bigger and better things. And if I could afford to buy the materials, I'd tackle more things for the nieces and nephews, but as it is, I can't do it. However, I make this offer. If you find some material you particularly like in a pattern, send them to me, and I'll be glad to sew it up for you. I could do it at night after Lewis has gone to bed, since my days are pretty well filled with work and entertaining Lewis. But I love to sew, and with a new sewing machine, I'm often irked with the handicap of new material. I got notice that I can come for my 12-week sewing lessons, but in this bad weather, and with such a distance to go by bus and trolley, I feel I must write and ask them to let me wait until spring, to start the class. Sister, it has been some time since I heard from you, hasn't it? The offer for sewing applies to you and your kids. I know it is difficult for you to get out, to make a selection of material and pattern, so if you'd tell me how little M's things fit her, perhaps I could judge by that. As for Emma and Chris, I guess you'd have to send me a pretty complete list of measurements, and if you're interested, I'll make up a scale and send it to you to fill in inches and lengths. Write to us, tell us your news, and what you think of this. Maida and Frank, I'll do any sewing for you I can, though Maida has me outclassed by a good distance.
I still haven't given up the hope of sending the things for Susie and F. I'd hoped to do it by F's birthday, but I guess that is out of the question, and I shall hope to do it as soon as I can, and do the best I can. Jean, I certainly did enjoy your letter, but as usual I've written too much to try to answer it now, since I hear Lewis calling already, and there is much to be done if I'm going to get this mailed today. Hearing of your 2 swains was of great interest here, and we want to hear more, as always. I want Mamma to send you Mrs. Corey's letter to read, for it brings them up to date very well. Right now, before I forget it, let me ask about that towel and washcloth set. It is beautiful, has never been used, of course, but I'd like to hang it in the bathroom for show because of the coal dust and soot. I can hardly do this without it getting dirty quickly, and I don't know how to go about washing it. The girl next door saw it and asked me how to take care of it. She has a set of 2 bath towels, 2 face towels, and she has never used hers either because she didn't know how to launder it. Please advise. My Tony is just as nice as any beauty shop permanent, more natural looking. The only trouble is that my hair gets dirty so fast, on account of furnace firing. More. Sweetie.
She ended that one kind of abruptly.
I feel like she was going to write more, and she got cut off, and then she was like, I just got to get this in the mail. And then just hastily signs her name to the bottom of it and moves right on. Because she writes more like she's planning on something else to follow this. Yeah, talking about, like, towels and how to launder them. Not usually her typical ending. No, sweetie, Lou and Lewis. Oh, man. That was a great letter, sort of setting the tone. But I wanted to give a little teaser, actually, as we're going into July for the coming episodes. Now, this is episode 59 of the podcast, and especially to people that have been listening to the story from the beginning. We're glad you've taken this journey with us. You've seen a lot of changes. There are some more changes coming. As we approach episode 60, the title of this episode is I'll Jump Right Into the Trouble. So there's going to be some drama coming up. And then a few episodes further out from that, if you're on the website and you've seen sort of who's writing some of the letters, there's going to be some special content coming out this summer that's very different. And we're really looking forward to getting to that content. But we'll leave it a bit mysterious at this point as to what's going on. But there's a change of pace coming up. But as for this letter, I mean, yeah, she just continues to paint that scene of her life and how things are going post-war as we're getting further and further away from World War II. But Jamie, I think that's it for this episode. And yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week with episode 60. Bye.